Ciao, hi, hey guys, just going to check I'm live on Facebook as well. Ciao, hi, hey, hola guys, it's your boy M.K.S here back with another video. Finally, welcome to the third and penultimate part of, I put the right title in, but of my plans for empowering the black community, especially in America, for February on Thursdays, because I normally like to stick to a certain theme for certain days and that, and that kind of thing. So I hope people enjoy it. And as ever, please let me know what you think, and if you've got any ideas or suggestions of your own or whatnot. I'll try and crack on with it. So these are pointers number, and they said 31 to 48, so I've jumped ahead of myself. Number 21 to 30, I beg your pardon. So here you go. So number 21, I think 21 again. And to recap what I discussed in parts 1 and 2, I would love to support African Americans and black people around the world, especially in America, in terms of politics, becoming politicians, learning about politics, getting involved in politics. Well, I'd love to discuss ideas on that. I know I've not been, I've got my own political views, but I've not been involved in politics myself. But I'd love to hear views from black people in terms of politics and that kind of thing, and encourage them to create their own lobby groups and encourage groups to support them. Those with more experience than myself, which is not saying much, but as many people as possible, especially those with experience, to help them to get into politics and lobbying and that kind of thing, and to teach each other and train each other as well, those who know about it, passing on information to each other. Also, tech. So yeah, politics, goal setting, and including things like tech, and creating their own aims and purpose, and also create networks and support and that kind of. I suppose Black history is political itself, I guess, and remembering the theme of Black history as well. I like to call it Black history and empowerment and that kind of thing. I know in October for Black History Month here in Britain, they had the theme of reclaiming narratives. I think I might have checked, but I can't remember if I checked. I think I did, but what the theme is for this year for Black History Month in America. But yeah, I normally like to think of a theme of empowerment. But yeah, empowerment in terms of goal setting and in terms of things like politics, tech, supporting black YouTubers and TikTokers and all sorts of things like that. Also thinking about 21 again. I've been very demotivated and forgetting things. I've got to remember to wear my glasses when I watch TV, when I watch YouTube and all that kind of thing. I feel that different when I wear glasses, in terms of, although they do feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes, and I fidget with them, as you can probably tell, but I don't feel that uncomfortable. I don't feel that different in terms of like what I can see. I don't really notice myself seeing any better, but I'm just hoping that they will keep away any sort of pain in my eyes or stop me from getting headaches and all that kind of thing, as I spend a long time on screen, as you probably know, for those who have seen my videos. And most of the time I watch YouTube on my big smart hub TV, so I spend a long time doing that. And yeah, so supporting those sorts of goals. I sort of make my bed, strip my bed and remake it. Remember to wear my glasses, my new glasses, because I lost my old pair, so this is a new pair. And things to remember and do for myself. But going back to the topic of black empowerment, as I say, I love to support black people in those areas mainly on Thursdays. So as I say, goal setting, including in politics, tech, YouTube and TikTok on Thursdays. So I think they're the main themes: goal setting, politics, technology, YouTube and TikTok and that kind of thing. Moving on, number 22, I love to support projects like Black in Tech, Tech is the New Black, and other groups like that to work together. And I love to encourage black people to, as well as potential allies like myself, but I suppose those with more experience and ability to help, those with the funds and the ability and the experience to help, to support black people around the world in tech, and especially in America. And I think it'd be cool if they passed on, as I say, knowledge and info to each other. Now, I don't really believe in like forcing companies to do certain things or having quotas like DEI or anything like that. So I suppose that is the challenge of like how those companies can be encouraged maybe for PR purposes or other such incentives, could incentivize them to train up young black people to get into tech. Although that does create the problem that that would take a while to train them from young age, especially. But maybe there could be certain goals as well to see if it's not just talking about. And I'm too good at talking. I'm not really good at putting things into action, unfortunately. But those who might be better at putting things into action, to that's another thing. Like I try and look away from the screen now and then, so I just rest my eyes a bit sometimes, so that they don't get too sore or whatever. I don't get too tired or whatever. Because I think you're not supposed to focus on a screen as much as I do. But anyway, also I learned how to clean my glasses a bit better as well. But anyway, sorry, getting back to the point. I say I don't want to force companies to do what they don't want to do, but for PR purposes or things like that, they could do so. But there could be goals like by 2030, we want to increase black representation in tech by 10% or whatever it might be, whatever goal there could be, because that's something to work towards where you're working towards it. And although I'm very impatient, I want it done yesterday, so to speak, want things done so quickly. But giving a time scale where you can say this is actionable, we're actually putting it into action. We're not just talking about getting more black people into tech, but we're actually showing how many we're going to get into tech. So companies could help with that, and that could include other companies like supermarkets, coffee and tea brands, and others as well. Number 23, another incentive could be giving tax incentives to companies like Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, Apple, Amazon, and others, and even like Walmart and other companies to donate a certain amount of their percentage of, a certain percentage of their profits towards helping more black people get into tech. Also, politicians, when it comes to politics, they could mentor black people to learn about politics and that kind of thing. And to get more black people into political careers and legal careers, like becoming judges, lawyers, and whatnot, to help them to achieve those things. Again, I don't really believe in it being forced, and therefore I don't really like quotas or DEI or anything like that. Just because I don't want to force companies to do things they don't want to do. But there could be tax incentives that would help, as I say. There could be things that are good for the company's PR. Maybe multiple people like myself, and maybe there could be letter-headed letters written to tech companies and others, sort of saying, would you fund such and such? What would you do to help more black people into tech? And things like politics. And what would you do to support more black YouTubers and TikTokers? I know YouTube already does have like things that help to promote black YouTubers, and they also have in TikTok they also have a section for black TikTok and that kind of thing. So yeah, I hope to encourage that more though in the future as well. But looking at fundraising ways, something I mentioned in part 2, which I forgot to say in point number 3 in part 1, of course, about the tax cuts. And I tried to do the maths on it, not really the maths, but I worked out roughly that if about 10% of the population is African American or black or whatever, it's probably a bit more than that. I think it's more like 12 or 15, or maybe even 18% or 20% or whatever. But let's say if it was 10%, I conservatize the numbers, and the average salary is about 40k a year, $40,000 a year. Again, it probably is a little bit higher than that. I think for like white households, it's like 50k a year on average. And they pay about 20% tax, let's say on average, roughly. I worked out in terms of income tax alone, if black people were exempted from income tax and could give that money towards a community leader or even community leaders like Vista Capital Partners, Vista Equity Partners, or whatever they're called, ran by Robert Smith, an African American, or Damon John, or people like that, maybe even working together, they could invest that money and look into shrewd investments, maybe even put it into a Schwab account and hopefully multiply that money. Then they could be able to get much more money, which they could share with the African American community, which would help to close the racial wealth gap. So things like that being exempted from income tax, if not even other taxes like federal taxes, state taxes, or whatever, and all these different taxes, to get at least tax reductions, if not even be exempt from taxes, which could be a form of reparations. And again, if that was invested shrewdly, it would go a long way. And looking at what different companies could do, as I say. Again, I wouldn't want to force any company or anyone to do the things they don't want to do if I can help it. I want them to do it for PR purposes, tax purposes, or whatever. But they could lobby together. The black community and potential allies like other POC, people of colour, or whatnot, could lobby together for such. Number 24, I think it'd be cool. I know I'm focusing more on black Americans, but they could network together with black people, the black diaspora around the world, including from Africa, Australasia, Europe, and even Asia, and all over the Americas, like Latin America, the Caribbean, or whatnot, to support each other, lobbying together, support each other politically, support each other, YouTubers, TikTokers, and technologists, and all sorts of things like that. Learn from each other in technology and learn about business together and things like that. And I think that would be pretty cool. Moving on to 25. So yeah, I hope that they work together in those areas like politics, YouTube, TikTok, tech, and things like that. One thing from a biased point of view, I always like to support republics. So I was trying to think of something that would be apt to include in that. But maybe like African countries as republics could host events to support like the Republic of Tech, republics working together. I guess America would be part of that, but black Americans could be included in sort of networks, I guess. Number 26, once again, like as a form of reparations, being exempted or at least being exempted from income tax, or at least, sorry, trying to get my sentence structure right, being exempted from income tax, or at least having a reduction on their income tax, and maybe paying the least amount of taxes possible, preferably zero, as I put it. Maybe even look at loopholes that already exist, like the financial guru, the Japanese American financial guru, Robert Kiyosaki, talks about running businesses and learning to invest so you can legally reduce your tax. So maybe they won't even have to lobby for that. But I'd love for black Americans, as well as other POC in America or even in the West generally, to be tax exempt, to pay the lowest amount of taxes possible. And again, they could work with other POC minorities and whatnot to pay the least amount of taxes possible. And there could be even other. There could also be other other forms of reparations. But I'd love to know the pros and cons, against and for reparation, and that kind of thing. The arguments for and against and for reparations, and that kind of thing. Number 27. Once again, like tax cuts could be applied for companies to support African Americans. Like it could be Walmart, IBM, Oracle, or all sorts of American companies. The government could say for each million you donate, each $1 million you donate to the black community, for big companies like that, which probably wouldn't hurt their bottom line too much. But actually, if anything, if it's good for their PR, it would be even more. It would be even more worthwhile to do it. Again, trying to get my sentence structure right. But yeah, so I did say earlier I'm very good at talking a lot but not taking action. But then again, I do stumble on my words, so I was wondering if I should say that. What I mean is I come up with a lot of ideas, but I do struggle to put them into practice, just to clarify that, taking it literally. But I was thinking about that. I guess, yeah, I do struggle with my speech sometimes. But yeah, so I'd love to see what incentives could be given to companies. Yeah, the one I can think of off the top of my head is like tax incentives, so they could save money off their tax. But there could be PR purposes or other incentives to companies to be encouraged to support more African Americans. Maybe even, like, for instance, other minorities could support African Americans, and when they need help, African Americans will return the favour, I guess, if and when they become empowered, which I hope they do. And I'm 28. On that note, I hope they can turn their situation around to a more positive thing. And I guess an incentive for supporting African Americans is given what they went through in history. Like I talked about what's sometimes called Little Africa, or was called Little Africa, which is Black Wall Street and that kind of thing. And now that was unfortunately burnt to the ground and things like that. So there's a lot of historical incentives to support African Americans. And talking about history, obviously the theme of Black History Month, it would be interesting to learn history from African Americans, from black people themselves. Number 29, once again, the other allies could support them. And number 30, African Americans and black guys to get free tushy, toddy, and goodies. Anyway, on that bombshell, I'm out. think it's not